run it?
Yeah, basically the question is, why do we need to create infrastructure for our application deployment? So the question the question itself says that, for the application deployment, we need to create infrastructure. You're correct, Divya. See, without a basic infrastructure, it is not possible to do any deployments. For example, if you want to access any application like Amazon, Flipkart, or Redbus, anything, right? You definitely need a device, either a laptop or a mobile phone, a smartphone, right? Without that, is it possible to access anything? Ranjit?
No.
Okay. So the next question is, what is the tool used for infrastructure automation? That everybody is clear, that is Terraform. Apart from Terraform, Ansible is another tool which can be used for infrastructure automation. Okay.
So
Most
where is
important,
this Puppet and all those things comes?
and all they are also configuration language to create infrastructure and manage infrastructure. Chef, Puppet, and all. It is almost kind of outdated. People don't go and use those things because, see, earlier. Okay, I'll open one more. So before cloud, how it was? Can you imagine?
On-premise data centers.
You have to create one virtual machine or multiple virtual machines to deploy your workloads. So you are the one who is creating the VM, right? The DevOps engineer is the one who is creating the VM, or maybe some system admin guy. What he is supposed to do after that? He has to make sure this is updated, the package is updated, security patches installed. So many things he has to make sure. Some sequence of activities to make sure all the servers are up to date. Do you agree with this? For that, Chef, Puppet, even Ansible, they were using. All these tools are configuration language tools.
That means it's just to verify whether the system is up to date. That's all. Huh?
No. You have to install. Say, how do you manage hundreds of servers?
Oh.
Thousands of servers. How do you manage? Right? How do you manage?
Right.
In that case, you will have to have a centralized server. In that, you will have access. You will have client or agent installed. You will have the Chef or Puppet running on the remote machines. Say hundreds of machines. It's not like one or two machines, hundreds of thousands of machines. All these machines need to be monitored and managed. What happens is you have to install packages, you have to upgrade something, you have to make sure the security patch is updated. There are so many things that you normally do. Also the application deployment, whatever it is. For that, it was a manual stuff. It was not in the cloud. No cloud that time.
So once this agent and everything is gone, all the details will be gone. There will be no DR or anything, right?
No. See, DR is a secondary thing. See here, agent. See, you have a server running. You have the agent. You have the agent here. As soon as you do something, it will go to the server and then get the things updated. The only problem with this was you have to manage. You have to do a lot of automation just for Chef and Puppet or Ansible. Thing is, it has become a lot of overhead for people to do all the coding, all the automation and everything. But with cloud, since we moved on to cloud, it is all managed service. What is managed service?
we don't need to do the manual work we used to do with the Chef, Puppet, and Ansible.
So AWS manages updating, security patches, whatever comes across that particular operating system or the service that you are using. They will take care of installation, update, and security patches, whatever activities that comes to your system. Okay, is my answer clear? Did I answer your question, Sanjit?
Yeah, yes.
Now we are worried only about infra creation. Not worried about installation of new thing, updating, security patches, any other new changes. So all of these things are not our headache for now. That is AWS cloud, AWS takes care of that one. Only infra creation is our primary responsibility. In that we'll be adding different kind of resources like compute, storage, networking, database, like this. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now going back to the other one. Okay. What do you mean by declarative language? Anyone has a clear-cut answer for this?
Accessible to the computer.
What do you mean by declare?
Each state we are declaring with variables and en variable kind of
State.
developer.
No. With respect to AWS cloud and infra. So what do you mean by declare or declarative language? You define your requirement in a simple text. What do you say? EC2, 2 instances. S3 bucket, 1 instance, right? I mean, we have not seen how to put count, but that is a way we normally do it. Say, even if you want to add more resources like RDS, or say IAM user, like that, we just keep on adding the .tf file. Okay. How do we remove or how do we cut down one resource? Say I want to cut down from 2 to 1. How do I do it?
Remove one. Remove AC to 1, something like that.
Correct. You have to declare you want to make it EC2 1. EC2 1. Say S3 you don't want to have it. That S3 section you just need to remove it. That is what is called declarative language. You just declare whatever you want, whatever you don't want. You cannot delete it. That means you cannot say, I want to delete this. You have to just declare whether you want or don't want. That is what is declarative language. You have to declare what is required. You want only 3. Then you want only 2. Just you declare it. So there are 3 operations, right? What are 3 operations in Terraform?
Add, change, remove.
Correct. Add, change. Add means plus, change means modification, remove means minus. So what happens is you just need to declare whatever is your requirement until you do apply. When you want to remove completely this, not this remove, that is a destroying the resources. Destroying is destroy stage, where you remove all the resources. That is a separate stage, right? So whenever you want to make some changes to the Terraform, you have to either add or change or remove for the existing resources. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, going back to the next question. So I have answered you the other question also. How do you remove the resources created by Terraform by running apply command? That is what you do. I mean, you make some changes in the existing code and just go ahead and remove the resources. Why do we need to automate the infrastructure? That we have already seen that in order to maintain the maintain who is creating, how it is created, and collaboration, and keeping track of what changes we have done in the source code. We have done in the infrastructure. So why do we need to use Git? That is also answered already.
Why we need is for versioning mainly, right?
Yeah, version control. See, ultimately what we are doing, just not version control, right? We are also doing the CI/CD. Version control is anyways part of our part of the Git. See, in order to maintain CI/CD, ultimately you have to use Git. When you use Git, automatically you do a version control.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So why do we need to create a pipeline template for creating the infrastructure? Pipeline template means which file?
YAML file.
Yeah, .gitlab -ci.yaml file. Why do we need to create that?
Has the steps that we need to implement or we need to run it.
Yeah, that is the
creating the infrastructure.
source file for our pipeline jobs and pipeline stages, right? There are sequence that it has to go through to in order to create the resources. So it goes through specific jobs and stages. So that is declared or that is defined in the .gitlab CI.yaml file.
So one question, okay. Why are we need any specific? Do we have any specific reason that why we keep that .gitlab CI/CD.yaml file? Can we have it in any other name?
You can have it in another name, but you have to make some changes in your GitLab settings.
Okay.
So some default syntaxes or default rules followed, right? That is as per GitLab. So in order to make some changes, you need to go to your pipeline settings and make some changes. That we will probably see by tomorrow. See, it is easy to just navigate to the particular section and then see, try to understand. It is easy. I'll also show you. Okay. Moving on to the previous discussion. Do you want to have just read through it and then tell me whether you have any doubts on this? Say what we saw in the first class was writing Terraform code in the initial session. We created .pf files and push it to the GitLab, and from your local machine in the Git bash you run init, validate, plan, and apply. True? Is the process clear for the manual? For the manual execution, what you did was you wrote the Terraform code in your Git bash, all .tf files. You push it to the GitLab repository, and then whenever you want to have some code changes in other place, you do a git pull and then do a git push to update the repository. And in order to continue with the Terraform execution, the Terraform workflow, you run init, validate, plan, and apply. That is using /deploy.sh, which is a shell script file which contains all the stages. This is very much equivalent to the GitLab CI/CD pipeline, but it is running manually on the local machine. So what is the interface we used? We used Git bash. Where is the state file stored? What is state file? Where is it stored?
A state file contains the information about the resource that we are creating, and it is stored locally. Generally, it is stored locally, but we can make it available in the GitLab.
Okay. So when you run manually /deploy.sh or run Terraform init, plan, and apply, it creates resources in AWS Cloud. Once the resources are created, it creates a TF state file, terraform.tf state file, that is on the local machine, that contains all the information about the resources created in the cloud. That state file is available only local to you. It cannot be transferred to other people. I mean, it can be transferred, but it is a manual stuff. Okay. Moving on to, where is the key file stored when you run it? When you run deploy.sh, when whatever the key it is creating, right? The key is also getting created from the Terraform script. Where is the key stored? On your local machine. Because you are running it locally, the Terraform apply command, which creates a key resource, the key file. It creates a public key, it creates a private key, and then private key is local, public key will be put onto the EC2 machine. So where are the access keys and secret keys for you to run your automation, for you to run your deploy.sh file?
It's in the AWS credentials folder.
Yeah,
remote
on
machine.
the AWS folder, in the credentials file, you have everything. In the config file, you have all the configuration information about your region and the output, whatever output that you get it. Okay. What are the other disadvantages over running it from your manual, running it from your local machine? The problem is, it depends on your connectivity. Say, for example, you are running /deploy.sh, right? And immediately the power goes off. What happens? It's stuck in the middle. You don't have a control of rerunning it again, or there is another problem introduced. It is difficult to identify how long it has been executed. There is definitely a connectivity issue if you run it from locally. Other things we discussed, there is no tracking of who has done what resources have been created, what stage has been completed, what stage has not been completed. That is very difficult. Also, it all depends on who ran the script. He only understands how many resources created, how many resources have been modified, how many resources have been deleted. So it again creates a lot of dependency on persons, and you need to go based on the communication, whatever he does. If he doesn't tell you exactly what resources have been created or modified, definitely you will get into a problem. So how to fix it? How to fix a manual execution so that everything goes through
Automation.
smooth.
Use GitLab.
Yeah, use GitLab CI for use GitLab CI. Use GitLab CI to create the CI/CD pipeline. What is the first thing for creating a CI/CD pipeline? What is the first important thing that you need to do? Create
Variables.
.lab-ci.yml. That should be in your root directory of your repository. So this is very important. So try to understand the format of the file, name of the file .gitlab-ci.yml. It must be in the root directory of the repository. Is it clear?
Okay.
Shall I move on?
Yeah.
The next important thing is create variables. What are these variables? Access key and secret key in the group section. Why in the group section? Because it can be used for any projects within the group. So it is important you create a group variables instead of a project level variables. Clear?
Yes. So one question, I don't know whether it is this context or not. So I have group access keys. Okay, I have created a group access keys. So for one of the projects, if I want to restrict, is it possible to do that?
Yes. But again, it has to be at the group level. You have to configure.
Oh, so that
See,
will
like,
affect the other projects as well, right?
yeah, like you had right the protected variable. For that, it requires further configuration at the project level. So that's a good question. We'll discuss about it tomorrow. So restricting, creating a variable and restrict to a project, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What is the next thing we should think about? Since the execution is on GitLab, not on the local machine. Since we are using
.tf files.
I'm sorry.
.tf files.
That is already there in the GitLab, right? I mean, we don't have to really worry about your repository is anyways remote. Repository is remote. It is already on the GitLab, and you have to just make use of the CI feature in the GitLab. Your repository is already on the remote server. You just need to use CI feature. What is the next thing required apart from the GitLab variables for access key, secret key? What else is required? Apart from .gitlab CA.yml, what else is required?
Repository name or sorry, if it's wrong.
Okay, that is okay. So you have everything like repository name, repository details, .gitlab CA.yml file is also there. So you need an executor, right? Executor.
Runner.
Executor runner. Why? On the remote, on the GitLab server, you
To
have
spin up the Terraform containers.
Terraform container, Terraform execution. See, on a local machine, you run using Git bash. On the remote GitLab server, you have no control over it, right? How it is running. So in the GitLab server, it has a GitLab runner. That takes care of the pipeline execution. And then you need an executor. That is nothing but your Docker executor, which will run the pipeline, run the jobs. The other way to put it is run the jobs. So you need a GitLab runner and GitLab executor, because you're not running it locally on Git Bash. You need to run it on the remote machine. For that, you require a GitLab runner, which will read the .gitlab ci.yaml file, which will read the .gitlab ci.yaml file and run the stages. For running the stages or jobs, you need an executor. That is nothing but Docker executor. That is nothing but a Docker container. It spins up a Docker container and it runs it. Any questions so far?
So when I was just going through that output file when you run the apply command. The first statement says it is running with a GitLab runner with a version, and it is running on which machine it is.
Yeah.
The next statement says it is preparing for the Docker machine executor. So GitLab is just to initiate the first process of running that one, and the rest everything is taken care by Docker executor.
Correct. There are only two things. That is GitLab runner and GitLab executor. So the everything is there in the GitLab server. So GitLab server makes sure that GitLab runner is there in place, and in the .gitlab ci.yaml file, what kind of executor that you want, that you mention it. That is, I'll just quickly show you from the other screen. Is my screen visible? The terminal?
Yes. Yeah.
So you see this, right? Line number 13 to 17. You just tell that what is the image that it has to use. That is on line number 14. And what is the entry point mean? That is something similar to you copied your Terraform scripts to your Windows folder, which is in the path, right? Similar to that, you have to copy the Terraform script to your path variable. That is what you are doing here. You're basically calling using the path variable, you're calling Terraform. Because when you are running your Docker container, it doesn't know exactly where the Terraform exists. So this is all about executor. In the .gitlab CI YAML file, you're just mentioning that where is my executor, which executor you're currently using. You're going to use a Docker image, and you're using the Docker image name, HashiCorp Terraform. Latest is a version. You can also go for a particular version, Terraform 16 or 11, 12, whatever it is. But we are trying to use latest image. In that case, you don't need to really worry about the versions and all. You just keep the latest. An entry point is all about from where it will be running our script. So Terraform is available in the user bin env and Terraform command that will be executed for running your before script is all about every time before running any job. See, whatever stages that you mentioned, before any stage, the before script will be executed. That means it will make sure the AWS CLI is installed, the APK add, that is Alpine package kit, and it adds AWS CLI package, because it is also similar to what you have done in the Git bash. You install AWS CLI packages, right? AWS CLI software. The same thing, we need to make sure it gets installed on the container. That's what we are doing. And then we are trying to find out the version of the AWS CLI. And then we are trying to see what is the Terraform version, and then going to a particular folder and doing a Terraform init. So this is done before all the stages. In your case, you will have a my default VPC here on line number 23, and you will be doing a Terraform init every time before you run a stage. Stage must be followed by the job name. Say stage name and job name need not be the same. You can have something like my validate, Ranjit underscore validate, or something like that. You can keep it, but stage must be same as your stage that you declared in the stages section. Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
So like if two people are working on the same CI/CD pipeline, the path variable from where the Terraform is taken, so both of them needs to have Terraform installed in their system, right? Because it is taking from the local bin.
It's not from the local bin. It is from the Docker image. See, it is not the local bin. That it is just says user local sbin. That means there is a folder called a user local sbin folder. In that you have Terraform.
Okay, in the Docker it will have a folder called user local sbin. There it will be there, right?
Exactly. It is not about your local machine. It is about your Docker container.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay. What is the need for S3 bucket here on line number 4?
Store the images, the files.
No. Any other guesses? Okay, I'll go through. Okay, I don't have a backend.tf file here. You must be having a backend.tf. I'll just take the not that. So what happens is you have to make sure when you execute your Terraform scripts on the GitLab server, you have to make sure where is your Terraform file will go. That you will define it in the backend.tf file. If you get a chance to, if you have the Git bash open, just do a cat backend.tf. You will see similar information. Backend is S3. Instead of storing it locally, you're just saying Terraform state file will be stored in the S3 bucket. What is the bucket name? What is the key value for storing the bucket, for storing the state file? And what is the region? And what is the lock file? DynamoDB lock file, where you will be storing a lock file that will make sure no two people run the job at the same time. Only one person run the jobs at the same time. That is a locking mechanism default available in all the development. Any development that you do, you will have a locking mechanism for the particular file or particular execution. Hope I made it clear. Any questions? Just do a cat backend.tf from your my default VPC. You will be able to see that.
I don't see that under my default VPC the same file.
Okay, I think it is there in the GitLab CI/CD that we missed in my default VPC. You can go to GitLab-CI/CD. There you can do a cat backend.tf. So that step we have actually missed it.
Yeah, that is why I retained the S3 from Git CI/CD, the last step. So I have not changed anything here.
I'll share my other screen so that we can continue with this discussion and then finish it off. Is my screen visible still?
No, it is not.
It's visible.
Nothing is visible actually.
Okay. Visible. Is it visible now?
Yeah, yeah.
So S3 for state file storage, remote. DynamoDB for lock, remote lock. To stop execution from two people. More than one people, I can say, more than one. So some of the other keywords, if you have seen it, there is a keyword called dependencies. There is a keyword called manual. We're trying to use as minimum as possible because it is even more detailed and goes further. I mean, it will take at least minimum a month to cover all the keywords available in the GitLab. At a very minimal, there are few keywords that are required that I'll cover it up. Manual means unless you execute manually, that job will not be executed. Execute manually. Otherwise, this job will not be executed. That is valid for the destroy job, right? Destroy job, you don't want to run it automatic way, right? You want to run it only when it is required, when you want to really destroy all the resources. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. So dependencies means, say, unless your plan completes, you cannot run apply. Unless your validate completes, you cannot run plan. So dependencies, you can put it in the job section and say which job is dependent on this particular job. See, validate fails, it will not run plan. That means in the plan job, you should say dependencies validate. In the plan job, sorry, in the apply job, you should say dependencies plan. So that when the plan job completes, then only the apply job will be executed. Otherwise, it will be skipped. That is why dependencies keyword is required. The manual keyword is required to run it manually. Otherwise, every job is executed automated way. Any questions?
No, Shankar.
Okay, I think we are done for today.